Hi, I'm Mackenzie.
Hey, I'm Denise, and welcome to the podcast from Rundown to Renewed.
Today we are completing our series of lessons from 2024. And this episode is going to be all about choosing a word for the year that you focus on.
Mhm. Yeah, we're excited. And, if you've been listening or you're coming on here for the first time, if you enjoy what we share on here, we would absolutely love for you to subscribe and follow. We just want to reach as many people as possible. And when you are subscribing and following and giving 5-star ratings, that just expands our reach, which we believe more people just need the messages that we're sharing, and we're so honored to be able to do it. So please make sure that you're subscribing and following and sending people copy paste.
Yep.
Send our
Forwarded to
forward
everyone.
it along. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so a few years ago, we were introduced to a word of the year, and I've been doing it, I think, for 5 years now. And the impact of it has been astronomical.
Mm,
And, this is important because what you think about, you bring about.
that's right. That's right.
So it's just a word that you choose, pray about it, you know,
Hmm.
God will reveal it to you. It's a word that you choose to focus on for an entire year.
Yeah.
And so my word for this year was redeemed.
Hmm.
What was yours?
My word for 2024 was free.
Free.
Is still free. Yep.
Yep. Yep. And we still have time to go. This isn't
Absolutely.
over.
That's
This
right.
is not over.
Can't wait.
So it's just really cool to focus on this word and to just keep a log of how God uses that word throughout the year. So I just created a Google Doc so that I could just list anytime something happened, anytime
Mm,
something was redeemed in my life throughout this year, I wrote it down.
I love that.
And it's a Google Doc, like lots of things. It's amazing. So this is important because, these thought patterns that we have that we want to challenge and we want to see if they are serving us or not, we want to transform our minds,
That's
right?
right.
We want to go from run down to renewed.
Amen.
So in Philippians 4, 6 to 7, it says, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication, make your requests known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then in Romans 12:2, it says, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. And I think, you know, that's just like Mackenzie said, like you want to be renewed.
Mm-hmm.
You want your mind to be renewed. And so for me, when it came to the word free, it's funny because I think around this time last year, just some fun Christmas deals like randomly popped up. And normally I don't bite on things like that, but it's like, why not? Free shipping, lots of deals. Okay. And this shirt was there and it said free on it. And
Mm,
I should have wore it
yeah.
for this, but it's a black short sleeve shirt. It's got gold lettering and it's free uh and like cursive. And I just when I saw it, I mean I bought it immediately and I think it
Mm,
was only $10. So
nice.
wins all around.
Yeah.
And it was just and that's not really how when God gave it to me, but this is actually my first year doing a word of the year. I always liked the idea, but just was never diligent enough to do it, if we're being honest, right? And so, but in the last few years of healing, I thought, this would just it would be cool to see how God uses whatever word I feel led to
Right.
and what he does with it throughout the year. And it's interesting because, in different sermons at church or things like I would I would take notice when the word free was used.
Mm-hmm.
And it always kind of came at a very good time, a very important time, right? It just always kind of aligned. And so for me, as I kind of look at the year, if we're going to bullet point maybe some of the more major things, right? For me, I started working with a betrayal trauma coach back in mm, end of February, maybe. One of the really cool things about where I got my coaching certification was they put you in what's called Slack. If you're familiar, a lot of businesses use Slack, but it's just a great way to communicate with an abundance of people. And in there, they do what's called it's called reciprocal coaching. And so you can work with another coach and you coach each other. So, one week I coach her, the next week she coaches me, and I reached out to her and we started working together at the end of February. And when I was just sharing some of the things I was wrestling with, she said, I was kind of sharing with her different stories and so she had a background of things. And one of the things that she told me was, you can't be free until you know the truth.
Mm.
And so for me, that was really eye-opening because I knew how true that was.
Right.
Because there were certain parts of my journey over the last few years where I felt like I was in a fog. I didn't really understand certain things. And then like multiple like major events happened. Like this is after the divorce, right? But those things, it was like the fog was gone. Like the sunglass, well, the rose-colored glasses were off, and I could see. And that was painful and helpful
Right.
because I could then make decisions based on the truth of this reality, right? And so, she said even the most horrific things that are true can grant you freedom. And I'm living proof of that because
Yeah.
when you actually see things for what they are, we talked about this a couple episodes ago. When you see things for what they are and you're not giving the benefit of the doubt anymore, oh, okay. All right,
Hmm.
this is what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
And that's hard
Hmm.
because you don't want to see things when they're really bad. You don't want to see them, but then you're stuck and you're not free. And that's hard because when we serve a loving God, you don't, and you think about freedom, you don't want to think that the horrific things are the things that are actually going to set you free. You want
Right.
freedom to be. And I remember actually during certain healing parts of this year telling Mackenzie, like, I didn't sign up to get free like this. Like, this was not the path I thought. But I will say that the things that I've seen and uh, allowed myself to see, and in truth and in reality,
Hmm.
and just accepting those things, it has freed me
Yeah.
because then it's like you can make a decision based on what you're being shown instead of what you want it to be.
Hmm.
And so, God desires us to be free. He desires that.
Yeah.
And so, for anybody that's walking a road where maybe maybe you just don't want to see things how they really are. Maybe there's some denial going on. Again, our brains and our bodies want to protect us. And so, like, I say all of this in such a loving way because I'm your friend. And sometimes friends have to say things that are hard in a loving way. Um, mm, you have you have to see it for what it is. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry for whatever it is that you have to see it for, but owning what's actually true will lead you to freedom.
Yeah.
It will. I have like a pit in my stomach saying it because I know somebody needed that today and I know how hard that is. Shoot me a text, message me on Facebook, please. I'm not kidding. Like,
Yeah.
because I get it.
Yeah.
I do. Um, so when we're talking all this through, Mackenzie thought of this example of the eagle. I thought this was really cool. And we looked it up and it says, an eagle can live up to 70 years. Or I think, no, they live up to 150 years. I don't know.
No, it's 70 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
But after 40 years, their beak and their claws dull.
Yeah.
Okay, so they have this choice, right, to die or go through a painful process. So if they choose this painful process, they have to break their beak and a new one grows. And Sorry, excuse me. And then they tear their claws out with this new beak so that they can grow new ones. And then with this, they pluck their feathers so new ones grow
Yeah.
because their feathers become heavy. So
Mhm.
they need less weight. And it's a process. Oh, here's the 150. It takes 150 days. That's painful,
Mhm.
right? But in order to live longer, they must go through this process. It's the only way.
Yeah.
And so, it's like, do you want to sit in? Because to me, freedom is accepting, like being kind of like being born again. Like
Right.
you have to shed the old stuff so that you can welcome in the new.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful way to end the year, right? Of like, what are you going to shed so that you can step into what's new
Mhm.
for you, that God has for you? Because He's a good father. He's good things for us, right? And, I think being free means radical acceptance. It's accepting the hard truths of your life, the things you want to see and the things you don't.
Yeah.
And how do you accept that? And I will be honest with you, like there are still some things that I wrestle with to accept, and I am working with my coach on those things and my therapist. I highly suggest having both. They're great, right? But accepting, because again, accepting it, truth's going to set you free,
Mhm.
and you're going to be able to walk in something new. And Mackenzie asked, well, how do you know, like, what are some ways that you know that you've been living in freedom this year? And, like, we've shared a lot of the really hard parts of this year in the last few episodes, but there has been a lot of joy this year too.
Mhm.
And, my girls and I took our first ever, like, solo vacation. We've been on vacation with family since the split, but we've never done our own thing. And so that was really amazing.
Yeah.
Like so amazing to do together, the three of us. We call ourselves the three amigas. And it's so special and it makes me so happy. And uh like we've lived in where we're at now for over a year now, so we feel acclimated and we know people and we're making friends, and the girls will just go outside and see neighbors and they're just chatting all these people up. And I mean, our neighbors to the one side are my parents' age, so they're just like another set of grandparents, I mean, it's just there is so much joy because we're not shackled to what was.
Mm. Yep.
And yeah, there's still goofy bits to work through. I think that's just a normal part of life.
Yeah.
That's an everyday, like we talked about in the last episode, the trauma stuff's still going to come up and trigger you. You're not fully away from any of that, but you are free from having to sit in it
Mhm.
and let it trigger you.
Yeah.
Because when you choose to heal, it doesn't have to have such a hold. And so there have been some really, really beautiful parts of this year in embracing freedom.
Mhm.
And I'm grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you choose a word of the year and you're really committed to it, I think it would be silly for us to say it's going to be rainbows and sunshine the whole
Yeah,
time.
that's true.
Because, like, when you think of freedom
Hmm.
and I thought of redeemed, I'm like, I'm going to get all the good parts of it. But, like, you don't think of what God is going to break inside of you
Yeah.
to break you free
Mm,
or to redeem.
that's right. And I love how you said that, like to break you free.
Mhm.
Yes.
So
Yes.
be ready for the work that God's going to put in front of you when
Hmm.
He puts this word on your heart.
Yeah.
And you may already have a word you're thinking of and you're trying to avoid it.
Mm. Hmm. That's real.
I'm calling you out right now.
That's right.
Okay. So continue to pray about it, but He will reveal it to you.
Hmm.
And for my word this year of redeemed, I have had so much shame about my past and guilt. And some of that was from myself, but some of it was from other people and what others have said to me.
Mm.
And I started therapy and I never wanted to talk about anything that I was going to therapy for with anybody. And God shifted my perspective. And because of that shift in perspective, we have since held two women's conferences
Yep.
and this podcast started.
Mm-hmm.
We have more more podcasts also, but more conferences coming.
Yep.
And, God just redeemed the shame that I had from my past
Hmm.
and allowed me to break free from that shame and redeemed my past
That's right.
in many ways. And I think that that is so beautiful because that's something that have held on to now for 14 plus years, 15 years.
Yeah.
And Satan used that against me. And I had this stronghold, and I wasn't stepping into who God was calling me to be because that means that I would have to expose my skeletons.
Yeah.
And that's terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
But I've seen what God can do with it, and
That's
He
right.
has redeemed it.
That's right.
So, another thing about being redeemed was this year financially for us. And I want to give everyone some encouragement with finances, because I was praying about my income and I had a certain amount that I needed to bring in every month. I was shifting perspectives of where I was going to be putting my time and focus.
Mm-hmm.
I'm homeschooling, so there's just a lot of my on my plate, and like I knew what I needed to focus on, and that wasn't providing the income that I needed. And so I just prayed about it, and God provided an increase in pay of the exact amount that I needed to bring in monthly.
Mm-hmm.
So he took that completely away, and that was amazing. And then not only that, but we also paid off all of our debt aside from our house.
Mm-hmm.
So that was amazing also. And it's so it's just so amazing to when you sit and you look back on your year and you see all of these things listed in front of you,
Mm-hmm.
you can just be like, holy moly, like God is so good. His plan is good. I'm focusing on good. He wants us to live abundantly,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
So, um, another thing with redeeming is, God gave me this gift, this talent that actually triggered me. And so I never used it. And God redeemed that this year for me. And I can use that gift and talent that he's given me without any offense or trigger. And
Mm.
that is huge.
That's massive.
So, this is a small example of the things that he's redeemed in my life this year because I'm focusing on that. And the cool thing when you do these words is that they compound,
Mm-hmm.
right? So,
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you every single word that I've had in the past, and it's brought me to the next word, which then goes into that year, and it's a compounding effect.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why it's so empowering too, because it's not like, okay, December 31st is here. There's no more room for redemption. you know, like God is going to continue redeeming and your focus is still going to be there. You're still going to see it. So, like God is just so good.
That's really cool. Like I like how you talked about how it compounds, and I was thinking we were listening to somebody share about their word of the year. And when they were praying about it, like at the end of the year, God gave them the same word,
Mm-hmm.
and so, and then that happened for a couple of years, and then they realized like, and they're, they're older. So it's almost like they feel like this is their purpose, like that they're just
Yeah.
supposed to live out,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like that work is never done and that
Right.
still needs to be the focus. And so I
Right.
think that's a possibility too.
Yeah.
God's creative,
Yep.
and he like, he speaks to all of us in different ways. And so if this is new to you, just be open. Be
Yeah.
open to it.
Yeah.
And you just don't know. And if it's something that, like Mackenzie, you've been doing for years, let's see what's next.
That's right.
Is he going to keep the same word? Is he going to change it up? What does he want to do in your life
Yeah.
next year and the years moving forward? And how are you seeking that path?
Yeah. So if you are new to this, how would you choose a word of the year? What did you
Yeah, so for me, I just prayed. I prayed and I asked God, and he revealed it
do? Hmm.
to me. And I think it's important to trust his timing,
Yeah.
right? Like, don't put God in a box. He might not reveal it to you by December 31st, right? Okay. Um, but just be open.
Yeah.
Going back to that, just being open to it and seeking God with it, and he'll share it with you. And I'd be weary of like phrases,
Yeah.
right? Because the reality is free is so much easier to remember than, I mean, I could remember a phrase, but a word is simpler and
Yeah.
it can be more powerful
Absolutely.
because of its simplicity.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a friend that actually decided to do a word and a phrase. And I asked her at the end of the year, and she's like, I have no idea what my phrase was.
Isn't that funny?
Like it's just harder for you to remember. One word is simple, easy, and easy to focus on.
Yeah.
So as we complete 2024, we're coming to an end here for 2024. In case you didn't
Because you didn't
know,
know, we have a month left.
December is happening next
Hmm.
week.
Yeah.
So this is going to be our last episode for 2024,
Yeah.
and you'll see some other things happening in December. So be on the lookout for those, and just feel free to go back through the last few months that we've been recording and catch
Hmm.
up on the episodes throughout the month of December
Yeah.
because we have a lot of fun things coming,
We sure do.
and we are excited to share them with you come the new year.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to be really, really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. God's been doing some really neat things and we're excited to share them with you. So, again, we are life coaches and what are we talk a lot about like the hard things, but do you have goals? Do you want
Hmm.
to accomplish things? Like,
Right.
are you um are you kind of setting your sights for the new year and need some accountability for that? Because that can be another aspect of life coaching. There's all kinds of things that you can cover in life coaching. And
Yeah.
so if you need some help with that, or just again need that accountability, we like goals. We
We love
like we
goals.
like vision casting.
Yeah.
It's really fun for us.
Yeah.
So if you haven't figured that out through the things that we've shared, so we would absolutely be honored to work alongside you as your life coach.
Yeah, and make sure you have February 22nd tentatively for
Yes,
2025 marked down in your calendar for the women's conference
that's right.
at Harvest Bible Chapel in Wexford. We're very excited for that.
Yes.
And we pray that you would have an amazing holiday season,
Yeah.
that you would experience God's presence throughout it, that you would not feel the need for busyness,
Hmm.
and that you would not allow your mind to become rundown, but that you would transform your mind from rundown to renewed. If you're feeling run down,
There's space for you at our table.